Welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast.
You have to know history, you have to know wrestlers, you have to know matches.
My belly's just a little big, my hand is just a little big, but brother, I am bad and they know I'm bad.
There is no revolution.
You are truly the future of Lucha Underground.
I got it. How about a little heel turn?
And if they piss somebody, if they took somebody off here, well then, there goes their career.
Well, don't piss anybody off.
I'm really sorry, guys, but my voice is still really bad. No, it's not. I'm back and better than ever. Welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. My name is Turbo Tony, and I'm back to shout down a microphone for your enjoyment. That's right, I'm back. I'm going to edit some biblical music, or I might forget, but that's normally where I put it. And I'm back. It feels awesome. I can boom with such confidence and power. I feel like Big E right now. Oh yeah. And I welcome you all to obviously the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. But I don't do this alone. No, there was a man who stepped up to the plate this week for the pay-per-view recording, and he is also throwing his hat into the Irish electoral campaign race as part of the LTW party. It's Councillor Matt Marsander.
I quite like that sound.
You like that, Councillor?
I think I could live with being a councillor.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So what, Matt, my question to you is, what would be your manifesto as part of the LTW party in Ireland?
I don't know. I can't honestly say. I'll probably come up with it on the day. I just quite like the thought of being sat in a big chair.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Councillor, we seek your counsel." And I'd be like, "Yes,
yeah.
You come to me."
Now you're going to have to stop yourself from actually getting like a sword and maidens, Triple H style, when he comes out.
No.
Getting the mask and everything.
I would not. No. Maybe a big battle axe.
Battle axe.
Sword.
I like the way you came off like, no, I'm above that, Tony. I'd have a battle axe instead. Oh dear. How are you doing, Matt?
Yeah, not been too bad. Maybe nursing an injury, but I'm too stubborn to go and find out whether it's anything serious.
Because we're men. That's what we do.
I have better things to do.
Yeah. For all people that have been watching the pay-per-view recording, could hear that I basically was verbally dead over the course of that podcast. So Matt, thanks a lot for covering for me there. You spoke when I could not. So good stuff. You saved me. But I'm back now. I'm fully 100%. Well, not 100%, about 90%. But I'm still okay. And we've got plenty of wrestling to be speaking about this week. Before we do any more procrastination and talking of said wrestling, we need to do our plugs. And of course, if you want to like us on our Facebook page, you can do so. Facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. Interact with us. Ask us questions like we got this week. You can also drop a message on our Twitter handle, which of course is
@TalkWrestlePod.
It is. And people may be wondering, wow, you guys are pretty good at getting those plugs down. Well, that's what you do. This is what we do, people. All right, this is how we do things here on this show. Is there anything else that has been happening throughout your week, Matt, apart from nearly brutalizing yourself?
No, it's been fairly uneventful.
Well, apart from a certain prodigal son returning to WWE.
That yes.
Yeah, that was quite interesting.
That was very interesting.
It was indeed. It's been a hectic...
If only I had watched it live.
Ah, yeah, I know, but we're used to things getting spoiled for us nowadays. It's just the normal thing. And people may be wondering where I got that intro from. It is technically right now is the Irish election, and like I've been literally just before I came on, I've been looking at all the updates and stuff. And people might be going, well, why would you care about that? Because you're English. Well, I still get to vote. I've lived in Ireland long enough, so yeah. Cool stuff. Interesting for me. Once you get older, guys, the more interested you get in politics. Who knows? Who knew that? Like,
it's unfortunately true.
You have a vested interest in English politics, don't you? Yeah.
All of a sudden, I seem to find myself a bit
It's part of getting old, Matt. It's part of getting old. Once I had my 2 kids, on my second kid, I started realizing that documentaries were very interesting, of like World War II documentaries, and then I realized that I'm just not youthful anymore. I just have to accept it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, that and cricket.
I've always liked cricket, but that's just an anomaly for me. Being the only like kid of like 11 talking about cricket in the schoolyard, yeah, what a way to get popular. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like the fact that we were friends at a young age, and whenever I used to bring up cricket, it was like, no, you shut that shit down quick. Oh no, no. Nevertheless, Matt, enough procrastinating. We filled our procrastination quota. We've got wrestling to speak about, and we better get into it here. Some interesting news. Not much news, I will say, but a few interesting tidbits of news. I think that one of the main ones is the newest Hall of Fame induction, which goes in the form of a pimp. No, I'm not getting that wrong. It's a pimp.
Yeah.
It's the Godfather was inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm guessing he'll be inducted by his many hoes, which he likes
What's
to
meant to be? Didn't they say on Raw that it's meant to be the APA inducting him?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I find peculiar.
Well, the Godfather himself was never really aligned with anyone for too long to have his name associated, I guess.
Yeah.
So, that's fine. I thought it would be funny if you get like a lot of the very well-known women now that used to be in his hoe train come out and they would induct him. Because like Lita was in his hoe train, and other, like Victoria, was in the hoe train and stuff like this. So.
Yeah. I did love the whole sort of like almost avoiding. It's like there's a train coming and it ain't easy. It's like, yeah, come on, do the rest of it.
Yeah, Do you want to add in those extra parts that don't really belong on a PG show?
I don't know, Byron. What's not easy?
Why don't you elaborate for us, Mr. Saxton? But, of course. Now, I want to talk about this. Obviously, we're going to speak about it because it is one of the news stories of the week. And obviously, congratulations are in order for the Godfather, clearly. And I did enjoy the character of Godfather while he was around. And Matt, he wasn't a horrible wrestler. He was okay. He wasn't good, but he was okay.
Yeah.
Right. Hall of Fame worthy?
No.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And I think inductions like this make me less enthusiastic about speaking about, this person should go into the Hall of Fame, because it is a little bit like, maybe this is be a bit insulting to people, and I don't mean it this way, but it does look like it's a little bit like the Hall of Participation. You didn't really need to win any championships. You just needed to be in WWE for a couple of years.
Yeah, you had a duration.
Yeah, and
the worst part is, like, I think they actually mentioned is like he deserves it or something. I was like, he doesn't really.
No, I mean he had a few characters obviously before Godfather. Godfather's the one that got the most traction, sure, but and he has a lengthy time in wrestling. But this is the Hall of Fame. We're trying to be looking at the creme de la creme, and that's just passed now. That passed a long time ago when it comes to WWE Hall of Fame. There's a lot of guys in there that, if you're looking for a Hall of Fame, like top-notch guys, then they're just running out of people, right? They've inducted too many people, so now they're doing it for the sake of inducting someone. So it is a shame, really. But fair play to him. I'm sure you'll have a laugh, and I'm sure his speech will be entertaining, but that's not really, in my eyes, what the Hall of Fame should be. It's a recollection of the greatest of the great. But it's not. I mean, guys might go, "You're only realising this now?" No, obviously this is something that we've spoken about before. The Hall of Fame not being what it could have been, and just really only being the rings, the actual event itself, and a WWE.com page. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
Whereas other wrestling Hall of Fames have buildings and actual memorials and setups and all this lot. So. But still, I mean, interested, Matt, to hear what other people's thoughts are on it. But I'm sure that most people would agree that, I mean, in the WWE Hall of Fame, fair enough. But the bar is set so low now for what people need to be for a WWE Hall of Fame induction that it kind of takes the, it's like when you had Jack Swagger win the World Heavyweight Championship. You had loads of mid-carders winning that title. It brings the prestige of it down. It's almost a little bit the same with the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion on it there, maybe. TNA Lockdown was over the course of last week. Didn't watch it, but the reason I bring it up here now is that it didn't do too well in the ratings. Now, I'm not going to make too much of a big deal about this. TNA have actually been doing okay, not great, but okay since they went to Pop TV. But Lockdown saw a notable drop from what they had been doing prior. It's more closer now to the Destination America numbers, which Matt, you and me said was only a matter of time before it went that way anyway, right? They've got Matt Hardy as their champion at the moment, and they've got...
Yeah, I saw a recent like EC3 promo, which was, I'd give him its dues, was pretty good.
Oh, EC3's good. Right? I really enjoy him, and as a face, he's doing okay. But I don't know. I'm not going to make any qualms. I'm not going to make any judgments on the product, but one of the things that we've always said about TNA, and I'm sure people are sick of hearing us say this by now, but it's a business problem that the company has. That's the, you know, they can always put on good matches. They've got the talent for it, of course they do, but
yeah,
no, that's the case of it there. And the reason I bring this up is obviously because it was a news story this week, and it was a slow week as well. But it just reiterates what me and Matt have said before in regards to the show. And we do firmly believe that, much to maybe some of the wrestlers involved in that company's detriment, it's only a matter of time before the bell finally tolls. But still, I think Davey Richards as well got injured again this week, but he's in a guaranteed contract, so apparently he's going to be fine, which is good for him. But I don't think that's the first time Richards has had an injury. I think he broke his leg in a freak accident a couple of years ago, maybe.
I couldn't say.
But he's out again. But that's the news on the TNA front. Now, Matt, I want to ask you a quick question. Did you watch the Edge and Christian show that Totally Reeks of Awesomeness?
I did not.
I did. And I watched it with my wife.
Does it reek of awesomeness?
It depends on who you ask. Now, guess which one thought it was good and which one didn't think it was any good.
I'm going to go on you didn't think it was good.
Oh! Ding, ding, ding! He wins! I did not like the Edge and Christian show. I thought it was a waste of time. My wife loved it. She thought it was brilliant. So, I was shocked at that, considering the majority of the show was 30 minutes of some insider references and a lengthy segment on the Shockmaster. And I tell you what, Matt, I'm going to let you make your own assumptions, because I guess this show was going to be... I said this back at when they had their segment at Fastlane, that the show is going to be very, very hit or miss. They're either going to knock it out of the park, or they're going to stink the joint up. And I think it can happen on the same episode, right? They're going to make something that really make you smile, and the next, 5 minutes will be like, what the fuck were they thinking, sort of thing. I have to say, I'm going to give it another shot. I know episode 2 is already out, so I'm going to give it a watch.
Yeah, they really didn't give it a lot of time, did they?
What do you mean?
It's sort of like there's no real pacing between episodes.
Yeah, I think that's just because they want to make the first 2 episodes come out early so people get into it and all that lot. But
yeah, I don't like how we've got this, and yet I don't remember the last time I saw an episode of Table for 3.
There hasn't been many episodes, really. I mean, they've had the 2 episodes of the Drive Along.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure, some people will look at me and say, I like it, and that's completely fine. Like I'm saying to you guys, my wife thought it was great. She wants to watch another episode. I don't know, maybe I was looking at it and I was like, this comedy just isn't really resonating with me. They're kind of trying to be like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but WWE's style of it. And the only thing I'll say is that if this was their big opening episode to try and get everyone in, they're putting everything into this first episode to get people enticed. And I was very sort of, I'm not really that bothered whether or not I miss it. Then I'm guessing the rest of the series I'm not going to enjoy. But I think it's one of those shows, Matt, that's going to divide people. Some people will like it, just some people won't. And I think that's just the bottom line of it. Are you going to give it a try?
Yeah, I may do. Is there only, 20 minutes long?
30 minutes was the first episode.
Yeah.
So
Sure I can afford half an hour at some point.
Yeah, at least just to get your thoughts on it. I just didn't think it was very funny. And I thought some of the insider references, fine. It was almost like they're nodding to things You know, they made a small joke about how Christian tried to have a race with Edge on who won the most world championships and that sort of thing. They're very self-deprecating, but I just don't think it's like the gags and the jokes themselves.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's much
They're
to
very strong.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of just like I said, it's almost like they've got about 5 jokes, and they've got to fit it in over like 30 minutes, and they don't quite know yet how to fit that. But still, I might be shocked. I might watch another episode, which I'm planning to do with my wife. I might think it's great, and she might think it's shit. I think it's really going to be one of those shows where it's just either going to work or it's not. I don't think there's any middle ground with this. But I'd be interested to see what other people think, our fans, and let us know what you thought of the show. Like I said, if they enjoyed it, brilliant. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people. I think it's going to be 50-50. I think a lot of people are going to go, I liked it. A lot of people are just going to be like, no, I don't care for it. But
Take it or leave it.
take it or leave it. That's it. That's one of the good things about the network, Matt, is that when they release these new shows, if it is miss and you don't like it, then at very least, and I'll give the WWE props for the network here, it's like I don't feel like, oh well, that's a monthly subscription just ripped away from me. Oh, it's not worth it anymore. For a wrestling fan, it's like, well, fine, okay, I just won't like it. I'll wait for the next new thing they come up, and I'll just watch pay-per-views.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I'm going to catch up on NXT.
Yeah, right? Honestly, like, I will give WWE props on the WWE Network. We've always said all along, the WWE Network, for the amount of money you put in for the content you can have on that monthly basis, it's a hell of a deal, right? We're saving money now when it comes to the WWE Network, so I have to give them props. And not every new show they're going to put out is going to be something that everyone likes. So by no means don't take this as a huge criticism of the network. It was bound to happen that they were going to put something out and I wasn't going to like it. But that's just the case of it there, but still. Matt, are you ready for some fan feedback?
Oh, I believe I am.
We've got some good questions. I thought last week was one of the best weeks we've ever had for questions. We'll see how this week pans out. We had a lot more people try and offer throw their hat into the ring this week. Let's see how they fare, shall we say? Let's see. Now, first of all, before we get started, Matt, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to 2 podcasts this week who got in contact with us, and they wanted, or they sent their regards, or wanted us to check them out. And I just want to give them a quick plug here because I like giving these new shows, especially if I've listened to them and I like them and they seem like genuine guys. The first of which, the Ringside Power Hour podcast. As far as I know, it's not usually 4 guys just talking about pro wrestling, Matt. Just talking about pro wrestling like you and me on an hour time. And I quite liked their audio quality and their graphics. You know me, Matt. I'm a sucker for graphics. So guys, if you've got an extra hour, go check out one of their newest episodes. I'm sure they'll like it. And another one is the Final 3 Count podcast, which is a more newer one. It's done by one guy who's learning the ropes per episode, like we did, Matt, back in the old days, like 3-4 years ago when we did our first episode on a different channel and all this lot. You know, it takes a while to get used to things. But send a little bit of love his way. Give him a little bit of love. Give those 2 podcasts a little bit of love. And you know what? Tell them that LTW sent you. I'm sure they'll be happy about that. So, there we are. Now, to our questions. Oh, Matt, here we go. Dane V90, who I do want to say has left 2 questions, and they've both been great. So I give him... Matt, do you want to give him an audio high five? You still don't know how to do that yet, do you?
No.
To be honest, I don't either, and I like just putting you on the spot.
I was going to break out into maybe just go into the usual word if it's good.
Okay.
But it has to be that good, I suppose.
Oh, so you're not going to judge him until you hear it. Oh, okay. All right, mate. See, you see, Dane, how critical Matt can be on his day. You know how critical he can be. He asks, "Do we think there is an anti-WWE culture beginning? He looks forward to Lucha Underground or NXT rather than Raw, and talent now are looking at other companies as serious alternatives to go and work for." Now, my answer to this, Matt, in regards to an anti-WWE culture beginning, I don't think it's beginning. I think it's always been there. And the way I say that is WWE is the top dog when it comes to wrestling, and they will be the top dog, I believe, for at very least 15 years in the future, right? Yeah. I don't know, we said last week what company will become a rival. That's different than them becoming better and getting more viewers in WWE. It's going to take a long time for WWE to fuck up or another company to get as big as they are, right? So they're top dog. They're the monopoly. They're the media juggernaut, right? They got the network. They got the pay-per-views. They got the 50,000 fans, in arenas around the world. They got WrestleMania. Then they got all this stuff. Just like Coca-Cola has Pepsi, as McDonald's has Burger King, some people just won't like what the most popular thing is out there, and other things will suit their tastes. That's just the way it always will be. But I think what Dane is getting here, Matt, is that there's more of a social media anti-WWE. It's like whatever WWE put out, we're just against it full on because they are WWE on that sense, Yeah. But my answer is still kind of the same. I think there's always been people there. It's just those people have more avenues in order to spread that voice, which, social media. This goes into a really lengthy conversation, which maybe I'm not willing to go full into there, Matt. But you know how WWE say this a lot when it comes to people criticizing the show and the hardcore wrestling fans, right?
Yeah.
And they say, well, to the other 75%, of fans, we're giving them what they want, and they seem happy. The argument there that I would say to them is, yeah, the people making the noise are the minority, Matt, but they also are the same people that make the noise at events. They're the people who do the charts. They're the people who buy your merchandise. They're the people that financially back the company, right, by purchasing merchandise, DVDs, network, tickets. And at these shows, they are the ones making the chants. They're the ones making the atmosphere. So, and obviously they're the ones making the noise. So, not making any reference to trying to appease those people, then yeah, you're going to have an anti-WWE demographic, anti-WWE culture because they don't feel like they're being catered to, and they're willing to put their voices and their noise across. If the other people aren't going to speak, then it just seems like, you see what I'm getting at here.
Shouting at the void, yeah.
Yeah, right. So, in terms of other wrestlers, Matt, did you listen to the Y2J podcast with the Young Bucks this week?
I finished listening to it earlier, actually.
Oh, well, good timing. One of the things that the Young Bucks say on there, Matt, as you know, as Finn Balor's said before, and Daniel Bryan, they made a hell of a living outside WWE in terms of financially. Now, that's not for
they referred it to main event money?
Main event money, right? And they're making...
in fact, I think Owens said it as well. He actually took a cut coming to WWE. Yeah, right. It's basically trading in more money for essentially security, and obviously only wrestling in one country, right? I know that they do tours elsewhere and into England and everything, but when you're working in New Japan, you're in Japan for months, right? Which I know that one of the things that Young Bucks said in that interview is that one of the reasons Carl Anderson wants to finally go back to America is because he's been in Japan for 8 years and all his family's in America, right? So it's like a homecoming for him. So I think that's always been there. I just think that the light is being drawn on it a little bit more nowadays. That would be my answer to it. I don't think it's beginning. I think it's always been there. It's just much more of a vocal point now. It's easier to hear these people. And that's always going to be there, I think. I think there's always going to be people that are anti-WWE because they are the man, right? They're their establishment. They are they're safe. They're not edgy. They are set in their ways. I think it's kind of just sort of like one of those... there's really bad cultures where it's just like, like before it was cool sort of thing.
Or like hipsters, wrestling hipsters.
Yeah, almost.
I don't think it's... you could say... There is some people, Matt, you're dead on. I don't think Dane is one of those people that's just like, because it's WWE, I'm not even going to give it a chance, right? But there are people out there that do that. They're just like, well, I'm not going to watch WWE anyway, just because it's the top company. And they would be like the hipsters. I'm not going to eat this thing because it's the mainstream. I'm going to eat this just because it's not mainstream. And there's people out there that will swear blind that they just won't watch WWE at all. Yet when something good comes up, they're obviously missing out because they've just gone, okay, I'm not gonna, you know,
just like no.
yeah. And whether or not they've been burned away from the company, that's not what I'm talking about. People have been burned away from the company, just don't enjoy it. Normally they just walk away from wrestling entirely. These people are actively not watching stuff that they know they want to on WWE just because it is WWE. So I'm sure there's plenty of people even this week wants to watch Shane return, but they're like, well, no, I just don't watch WWE. I don't even want to anymore. But it's like and they are watching clips on YouTube. You know, it's the way it is, right? There's some people that would do that, but there is some people that just go, you know what, I've had enough of WWE, the way they do their show, the way they film it, some of their stars. Matt, people might be shocked to hear here that I think both you and me, before obviously we did this podcast, have taken sabbaticals away from not only WWE, but from watching wrestling.
Yeah.
There was a year, I think it was the year that the year of Cena and Orton, where I just said, you know what? 6 months, and it ended up being like 8-10 months. I just didn't watch any wrestling. I gave up. Yeah. I know you did it roughly, I don't know if it was around that time, Matt. And we wouldn't do it now because we love doing the podcast. But I tell you what, sometimes you just need to. So that way when you come back, there's fresh storylines, there's new people. People might argue that, you know, we've had the authority thing for 3 years, so taking a 6-month break really wouldn't change that. But you know what I mean? Like, some of the champions have changed, different match types. You're not burned out, right? You want to see these guys wrestle again.
Yeah.
So,
I'm trying to remember when mine was.
How long did you take away from it? Or you just didn't watch anything for a while?
Oh, I don't even remember, to be fair. I lost a lot.
Yeah.
I remember that much.
I think yours was longer than mine, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember at one point I didn't see... Oh, which Mania was it?
And we watched 20...
I can't even remember. It was the Mania, which was Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair.
Oh, 24. Yeah.
I didn't see 24.
I was about to say, I pinpointed it while you were talking because we watched 23 together. I don't think you watched much after that. I think it was like after 23 you stopped watching, and then it was like after 24 because I said to you 24 was a pretty good WrestleMania, and you're like, oh, okay. Slowly started getting back into it, and I think we've been since those two breaks.
I think oddly enough, I started getting back into watching it when I first started training.
Yeah, and it just came off that. You speak to people, I get that. So yeah, that's we kind of went on a thing. You learnt a little bit about us there, but I'm sure that, and that's not people going, oh well, you're clearly not a hardcore wrestling fan. No, it's just sometimes when you've watched it non-stop every week and you're just not into the storylines, then you take a break away. If you don't like it, don't subject yourself to it. Sometimes the reason why we do it here on the show, even though a lot of the weeks we haven't really been enjoying WWE that much, is because we cover other shows for one. We do the podcast to tell other people whether or not it's worth them going out of their way to watch said show.
Yeah.
We are wrestling reviewers. That's what wrestling podcasters, right? So that's why we do it. That is a very interesting conversation, though, Dane. And I'm sure that you'd ask that to a lot of different wrestling podcasters. They'll give lots of different responses because it can fan out. And maybe we didn't give you the answer maybe that you wanted, but that's really what we can give, and that's the most genuine response that we can give to that. So I hope that will do it for you. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
No, I've got nothing to add.
Will you admit that was a humdinger of a question right there?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
You're so critical.
It was a very good question.
It's like you look at all the questions with like your monocle on. I don't know. It wasn't worded that well after all. Yeah. Have you got your top hat monocle on? Yeah.
Maybe not the monocle.
Don't get defensive on me now, Matt. Don't get defensive on me. Racist Fan Rocks asks, when do we think that Cedric Alexander will make his NXT debut? At Dallas, and Takeover Dallas, or the Cruiserweight tournament that's happening in the summer. And my impression, and I don't know much about this guy, my impression he's still under contract with Ring of Honor, so I think that might play a factor. I think if you're under contract with Ring of Honor, I don't think they would let them go to appear in that Cruiserweight. He's definitely not appearing in Dallas. Maybe I've got the wrong guy or anything along these lines, but I'm fairly sure he's still under contract with Ring of Honor. But that's just me. I've got a few of his matches. Looks decent. Looks alright. And he is a cruiserweight. I mean, he's like about 215, 210 pounds.
Yes, he'll cover.
But definitely not Dallas. I mean, if he's going to be showing up at all, it will be at the cruiserweight tournament, but not Dallas. Like, people are only going to be showing up at NXT Dallas if they're a high enough name like Jushin Thunder Liger, or they're being signed by WWE. And he doesn't fit under both those yet. He's still a fledgling in his career, but he's like 26 or something, so he's got plenty of time on his plate. Not being said that the WWE might not make a play for him in the future, but just not now. And I think it'd be the wrong time for him as well, because he'd be swallowed up by the names like Nakamura, Austin Aries, Samoa Joe, all these other big indie stars. I just don't think he would get the time he needs. Yeah. Right, so that's it. Axel Diaz says, now this is an interesting question, Matt, which I thought we would get asked. Axel Diaz got there before anyone else. I think someone asked us before whether or not we thought, but I want to go through it again. Do we think that Takeover Dallas will outdo WrestleMania? And obviously this is a lot more prevalent now because we're starting to get an idea of what both of their cards are going to end up looking like.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, I'll let you take this away. Do you think that Dallas will outdo WrestleMania?
I can't honestly say. Possibly.
How possible do you think it will be?
Yeah, quite possible.
You think it's quite possible?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Matt. I look at the cards, including this week. There's 2 matches on WrestleMania which I am interested in, and you could probably add a Divas one into that as well.
Well, until that's confirmed, I think we're just going off like the 3s that we've got.
Yeah. So, fair enough. And you've got a big Hell in a Cell match now at WrestleMania, so fun. Mm-hmm. That's bound to be a spectacle at the very least. I think in terms of actual pure wrestling, Dallas will be better. I would bank a lot on that. But WrestleMania isn't always about technical wrestling. In fact, it's often not. It's about grandeur. It's about moments. It's about spectacle. And I think
it goes on to sort of like, like Dallas will be better, like on as a wrestling event, but it is WrestleMania.
Yeah, and they've got a lot more money on their show.
Whole different, creature.
Like the special entrances, all that sort of thing. So there's a lot of stuff that they can work with there. But what I will say is that for the crowd, the people that are going to be making the majority of the chants for WrestleMania will be people that would have a vested interest in Takeover Dallas. And if you were to ask them which show was better, I'm going to say that they're probably going to say Dallas was better.
Mm.
And that might go into that anti WWE culture that we were asked earlier on by Dane. But I just think that Takeover it's designed, it's built, it's booked in a way that appeases to that hardcore wrestling demographic. So, yeah, I mean, I think it will be better in terms of wrestling. I think they're going to have some good moments on that show. I mean, Nakamura's first match against Sami Zayn, they could steal the show right there.
Yeah.
That being said, it could end up being along the lines, you never know with a wrestling show. They might go out with the best of intentions at Dallas to go and steal the show, have another great takeover event, and for some reason, bad series events, the matches just aren't that good. They just aren't that entertaining for whatever reason. It will be very hard for them to fuck it up, but there's always a chance. And there's always a chance that with a card that maybe isn't as exciting at WrestleMania, that they really do perform, that we get tons of memorable moments. It is possible, but I'm banking on Dallas to be the one that really shines.
Stands out.
Yeah. And like I said, they've got the added bonus, Matt, of the show being designed for us, really. WrestleMania is designed for the multi-million different demographics across the entire board. It's meant to try and appease all of them. Yeah. NXT is only there for us.
And not to mention that like you said, sort of the diehards, but then you've got I know some people who literally just watch Mania.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of people.
They could have like not seen anything like up until sort of that one night, but they'll watch Mania.
Oh yeah. And the funny thing about that is that I know I could probably name off my head. I won't do it because privacy. But I could probably name off the top of my head 10 people that I know that would buy the network, Matt, just for the month of WrestleMania, and then they would cancel it the month after because they're only interested in Mania. So, as you say there. Moving on, unless you've got anything else to say about
that. No, I think it's a tough one, but I can kind of agree that Mania could very much be overshadowed.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll bank on is I think Takeover Dallas will be a better wrestling show, but in terms of a better entertainment show, I think WrestleMania's got the financial backing, it's got the special entrances, it's got the Hell in a Cell match, it's got some few interesting dynamics, it's got Brock Lesnar. Who knows? They could beat NXT on a front that NXT wasn't really trying to compete on them with, which is just grandeur, right? So, but we'll see. Rainius Meister says, why can't women have Extreme Rules or Hell in a Cell kind of matches? I guess he's talking about WWE and not Lucha Underground, where they fight with broken legs and shit. So, and still, I'm with you. I honestly think that women should be having those matches. But here's the thing, right? Matt, do you remember the hardcore match between Victoria and Trish? I think it was at Survivor Series, like maybe 02, 01?
Too well, no.
It was the one where Trish had like the fire extinguisher emptied on her face, and that way Victoria won the match there. But they had a fair few different hardcore tools in that match. It was a good hardcore match. Without blood, of course. Well, actually, no. I actually think that Victoria like busted her nose and that, so there was colour, right? Which is kind of crazy. But, I mean, since then, even then, there hasn't been... I think the only thing that they've had along these lines, Matt, is a tables match with Lay Cool. I think Natalia was the one who broke it, 'cause she did a dive on them, and it didn't really break that well. I don't think it was that good of a visual, but...
I think, no, wasn't that when, like, she suplexed them, but it didn't break, so she had to splash them?
I think that's probably what it was. Yeah, the table, for some reason, it was like a pink table, but it looks like a lot heavier and a lot more durable than the majority of tables that they would normally use.
Yeah.
So when it broke, like, it didn't break with a satisfying, it just, like, obliterated itself.
Cracked a little in the middle.
It just, like, it looked like, almost like it, like, the weight of, like, the landing, it stood firm on the initial impact, and then it fell into itself, so... It didn't have that much of a good visual. But back to the question. I think WWE have found themselves in a fortuitous situation by not booking those matches. Now, I'm not going to say that they shouldn't have, because I think that the women are more than able now to pull off matches of a little bit more of an extreme nature, shall we say. But Matt, I don't think there's been a blood feud in WWE with the women that's gotten hot enough to warrant. Yeah. I mean, there might be a few people might come out and say there might be a few, but to me, not so much. At the very least, since the Divas Revolution or whatever. You might argue that Paige, and with all the things that Charlotte said, maybe, but there hasn't been too many feuds that you could say, with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, Matt, it felt like their rivalry could only be ended in a Hell in a Cell match, which it was. With the women, it doesn't really seem that way, and that's not their fault. That's just how WWE have used them. But WWE find them in a situation here that because they haven't used it, if they decide down the line that they do, they can build this up like a massive deal. The first ever cage match with the women, right?
Yeah.
The first ever tables match, the first ever TLC match, first ever Money in the Bank match with the women, right? They shouldn't just throw them out there on Raw or random events. They need a rivalry that builds for it, and they need to market the hell out. They need to make it seem historic. And if they do that, then they can pay dividends on that front. So, yeah, the women can have those type of matches. I think we're closer to that now than we ever have been. But WWE need to make sure that they make a big deal out of this. That if they do have an Extreme Rules match with the women, it needs to be they can't just throw it in a match. Oh, okay, this Charlotte's defending her championship against Brie. Fuck it, cage match.
In a hardcore match,
yeah. It just makes no sense, right? There's no warrant for it. If it's a lengthy feud that no woman can win, and they almost like they can't keep off themselves, they want to kill each other. Sure.
Yeah, or I mean, kind of into the mindset of the reason like the NXT number one contendership will now be arranged in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and unlike, well, I was about to say unlike the Kalisto Del Rio one, kind of a lie.
Yeah.
Kind of falls, but it hit a point where their story justified that would be the next logical place to go.
Yeah. That's
like,
right.
We've constantly been getting fuck finishes. Well, here's one way to get a definitive answer.
Yeah. You know, you can't have that many mistakes that it would make a 2 out of 3 falls match not seem legitimate or something along those lines. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. But it just depends on what story they want to run. I would be very disappointed if they just throw it out randomly for no reason. You could build this up as a big deal, right, between these girls. Like the first women's cage match. You can make that seem like such a huge deal, right?
Yeah, easily.
So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'd be very interested to see if they do any stipulation for the match at Extreme Rules after WrestleMania. That would be interesting on this front. So next question, Billy McGee. And first of all, he makes a comment here, which I wanted to make a reference to. He thinks that Jim Johnston should be inducted into the Hall of Fame, or been the guy who received the Vincent J. McMahon Award. Obviously, we all know how that ended up, but still, inducted into the Hall of Fame. My answer, yeah, absolutely. He should be in there. I don't quite know why he hasn't been put in there, to be honest. Because they're not in the habit of singing the praises of their backstage crew and staff. That's just bottom line of it, really. But
well, look at the Warrior. Look at the Warrior Award of what it was meant to have been.
Yeah, that's it. There's no word on what the Warrior Award is going to be given to this year. So,
are we going to get one at all?
I think it would be quite insulting if they didn't give it to someone else. You know, I think it would show WWE that the reason why they did it for Connor, and like I said, it was still a good thing, but the reason they did it for Connor is because it would get them mainstream attention. I think it kind of points that out to them. That if it was going to be like a yearly thing, like they said that it was apparently going to be, I don't know, but still. His actual question is if he thinks if WWE are relying too much on part-timers and legends, and who from NXT will be at the moment, will be a flop once they get onto the main roster. I'll answer that bit first, Matt. I think if you were to put him on the main roster now, as much as I think he will be a big draw for WWE and a huge star down the line, I reckon, Matt, if you were to take Apollo Crews right now and put him onto the main roster, I think he would not achieve the potential he currently has.
He'd flop, yeah.
Yeah. Now, he would make a decent mid-card or whatever, but, like, I honestly think that guy, with his look, his skills, his capability and his potential, he could be one of WWE's huge stars down the line, but he needs to figure out at the moment how to get across to the crowd a bit better than he's currently doing, because he's not winning many people over at the moment. So I think the NXT time that he has there, he needs to do it. I think he's got lots of potential, and that's where NXT is good, where you can give these guys time to figure out the psychology, Matt, of it all. I think that's the one thing that's lacking with him. The psychology of wrestling is a little bit behind him at the moment, but I'm sure he'll get there. He'll get there. One thing about Apollo Crews, he always comes across as a guy that's very intelligent, more intelligent than you realise. So I think he'll figure it out sooner rather than later. On the part-timers and legends, there's a question that gets asked every so often, and you could make the argument that you look at the main events this year at the moment, you've got Reigns against Triple H. Triple H is a part-timer. You've got Ambrose and Lesnar. Lesnar's a part-timer. Shane versus Taker. They're both...
Yeah.
You can make the argument, and by all means, there's not much I can really say to go against that. I think WWE doesn't have a problem where they're relying too much on part-timers and legends to run their show. They're relying too much on their part-timers and legends to draw for them, because they haven't created new stars. So they think that people that buy the network for that 1 month, Matt, as we said earlier on, because they only want to watch WrestleMania, they remember the good old days. They remember the people from before. They want to be interested in people that they already attached to. People like Reigns and Ambrose, they don't care as much because they just don't watch as much of wrestling as they do as they used to, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's part of that way. It's just good business sense for WWE to put these guys out of WrestleMania because it appeases to a much broader audience. But that's mainly because WWE and wrestling as a whole isn't as hot nowadays, and they haven't created many new stars. And they keep trying to fight the fans on who they want to make a new star. It's like Roman Reigns, and the fans are like, no, we actually quite like Dean Ambrose. Can you make him a star, please?
No, Reigns.
And no, it's all Reigns. When the easier solution is, okay, we'll do it. We'll give you Ambrose, and we'll turn Reigns heel, so later down the line, you want him as well. Easy, but WWE want to fight people on it, and that's where it gets a little bit awkward. But, Matt, I'm actually going to go as far as say I think this problem was far more of an issue like 3 or 4 years ago before these NXT recruits started filtering in onto the main roster.
You mean back when they were banking on Rock Cena?
Yeah, pretty much. To sell the entire show, right?
Yeah.
Basically off of their back. I think we're better off now, guys. I think look at the other people. You've got Reigns in the main event. I know a lot of people don't like it, but he is a new guy, right? He's a new main event guy. You've got Ambrose against Lesnar, which is that's the biggest match in Ambrose's career to date, right? Without question.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that going against Lesnar at WrestleMania is almost like better. It's almost higher than a championship match. It's almost like the Taker matches were better and more anticipated and more memorable than the championship matches at Mania. I think the Lesnar ones have a little bit of that as well. So having Lesnar against Ambrose, that's huge for him. That to me is on a level with Reigns at the moment. So, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, they've got guys, and I'm sure, Matt, one of the things that a lot of people are forgetting with this is if Seth Rollins was healthy,
yep,
he would be
if
in one of these main
Cesaro
events.
was healthy.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't think he would be in a main event, but in terms of main event drawing guys, I think Seth Rollins would have been in one of the main events at WrestleMania without question. Of course, he would have been. To be honest, Matt, he probably would have taken Triple H's place as champion and then had him against Reigns in the main event.
True.
In which case, then the argument of are they relying on old stars and part timers kind of gets pushed to the wayside when the final match of WrestleMania would have been 2 full-time new guys, right? New main event guys. So, but still, it's just the way it is. And like you say, Matt, one of the things a lot of people might forget is that WWE is in the midst of an injury crisis at the moment. So a lot of their stars are out, or they've suspended one of them for reasons that we've said about before, but still. So, would you agree, Matt, that maybe it isn't as much of a problem as it used to be?
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I can't argue at all. I mean, it's the only problem is they're kind of banking on it for this Mania because the injuries have essentially forced their hand.
Yeah. They don't have any other choice, really, do they?
No. Otherwise, you just end up with half a card.
Yeah, and we said, Matt, that this looked like it was going to be... It was risking looking like a mid-card Mania. They had to bring in some of these part-timers and guys outside of the company like Shane and stuff like this to make it more interesting because you can't just elevate the mid-card to those slots. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. It needs time. You need to elevate these mid-carders over a space of 6 to 12 months. At least... Arguably, you need more. Yeah. So, that's just the case of it there. But still. In terms of drawing as well, even more so, because that way you need to make sure that these guys are on mainstream media, that are going out for interviews and popping up here in places that WWE don't initially reach to, which is Raw and SmackDown and WWE Network, that they're getting out there like John Cena does and goes out to Good Morning America and Sports Center and stuff like this. Takes time. Matt Mann, who left a question on our Facebook page, and of course you guys can leave questions there as long as you like. That's facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. How do you like that plug? Tasty. Drink it in. That's why I say smooth. Yeah, like a fine wine or brandy maybe. Don't know. He asks, if we could book a swerve Russo style, how would you book it? Who would you book it for? And how? Now, if this was a serious question, I'm afraid I've taken... I've made a swerve that, when you say Vince Russo style, I could see Vince Russo booking it. Would you like to hear my swerve, Matt?
Okay.
So, let me paint it for you.
Is it on a poll?
No, it's not on a poll. Not on a poll. Not this one,
Okay.
but I'm sure other swerves can involve that.
Bro.
So, bro, hear me out, bro. WrestleMania. Roman Reigns versus Triple H for the World Championship. But right when they're both about to lock up, a new music hits, and it's Roman Reigns' daughter. She marches down to the ring. She's got two heaters, Matt. She's got RoboCop and the Kiss Demon. Alright? Straight out of WCW. Right? She comes down. Roman Reigns then, he just can't get over the fact that his daughter is in the main event of WrestleMania. And when it looks like he's about to win the championship, she gives him a kick in the bollocks and pins him and becomes world champion. There you go. That's my swerve.
Just some sort of genius.
And you know what? The rematch then would be Roman Reigns' like 10, 12-year-old daughter against Roman Reigns, with the special guest referee being the mother and the wife on a championship on a pole match.
Of course.
Bro?
How could I be so blind?
Bro, yeah, it writes itself, right? And that way you can have a thing where RoboCop and the Kiss Demon, you know, they're fighting over which is the number one guy to be a heater for Roman Reigns' daughter, and they fight each other in Extreme Rules.
That's two stories right there.
Mate, really, we do need Vince Russo back with storylines like that. Do we not? Bro?
Bro.
I think that could work. Arguably, all jokes aside, the idea of someone coming down and screwing out Roman Reigns for the second WrestleMania in a row, that would get cheered to the high heavens. It really would.
Yeah.
So
it's probably the easiest way to turn someone into a face.
It would be. Sheamus, even though no one likes him, can come down and screw Roman Reigns
This
out.
is where Rollins is actually at 100%, and he's just going to come out and fucking just screw over Reigns
and Triple H, because all that lot. But still, see how it goes. I miss Rollins, by the way, just to add that in there. I do miss him. I know at the time it was like he was on every segment and the promos were starting to get a bit too much and he was clearly overexposed. I've had enough of time away from Rollins now that I miss him now.
Yeah.
I need me a bit of Rollins. Need just a little bit of Rollins. That's all the questions for this week. If you guys want to leave any more questions, you can leave them in the comment section below or on that Twitter handle, Matt.
At Talk Wrestle Pod.
Of course, and on our Facebook page. I'll plug it one more time. Facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. Matt, there is so many ways to leave questions for us to answer that, geez, I don't even think I could create anymore. I'm sure I could, but it'd be worthless, surely.
I can't think
our email. Oh, yeah. Which is Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast @gmail.com. Almost got that wrong. Almost tongue-tied myself.
Careful. And
I just want to say there, just before we move on, that I'm really happy with the responses that we're getting on the videos recently. Just remember, even if your comment isn't answered to, they're read. We appreciate them. It really makes our day whenever we read those comments, and we love answering the questions. By far, most fun section of the show. Moving on to NXT Report Card. We both watched NXT this week. Not really too much to talk about, apart from things going to happening in the future. You've got Samoa Joe against Sami Zayn in a 2 out of 3 falls match soon. But Matt, we decided that we want to talk a little bit about some of the women on the show. There was a mixed tag match including Bayley and Carmella. And I don't know if you've realised, Matt, that the last 2 report cards I think we did, or at least most recently, was on Bayley and Carmella. So it makes sense for us to do the 2 women that they faced this week. I think that makes a little bit of sense. Nia Jax and Eva Marie. Go on, who do you want to talk about a bit first?
Nia.
Nia Jax. So, how do you feel like she's progressing? Do you think she's any better now than the last time we spoke about her?
No.
You don't? You don't think she's improved?
I don't know. I don't think she's improved a great deal, and I don't think it's been helped by the fact that she's been barely used.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Yeah, I think if she has improved, we haven't been allowed to see it.
Yeah, that's it.
She's working as a, I don't want to say heater because I don't want her to be, but she's with Eva Marie now, and they've got that friendship or working relationship that they've got with each other. I actually quite like Nia Jax, and the reason I do, Matt, is because when you look at a woman that has the clear size and power and strength advantage, it creates unique dynamics in matches. Yeah. A match with her in it is always going to be different than a match with anyone else in it, right? Just because she is of a larger variety of women, right? That's just the bottom line of it. That she's big, strong, powerful, right? And I honestly think there's potential there with her. I think a lot of people are writing her off and giving a lot of stick because she's The Rock's cousin. She has, she has pictures of The Rock up on her social media. She definitely doesn't try and hide it. Which, why would you? I honestly think that people giving her shit saying you've only got the job because of this. No, actually, I think that she's got a lot to offer. And I think that once she gets good, she's going to be a very useful wrestler for WWE down the line. So, would you agree with that?
I could agree with that. And the fact that she's she could then become an attraction. Like, I hate to sort of use the same sort of comparison, but she could essentially become the women's division Lesnar.
Could be, yeah. If they choose to book her that way, yeah.
Because she just far surpasses the entire division in just actual sheer intimidation.
Yeah. And raw power, yeah.
And just raw power, yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, that's a possibility. But, I mean, the one thing I didn't like about Nia Jax that was quite shown on this week, and it was one thing this week that, really showed that I was quite annoyed with. I don't know if it's an annoyance. I don't like her Hogan leg drop.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
especially when it's
finisher.
3 leg drops. It's like, what?
Not only that, it just doesn't come off as that particularly devastating anymore. So, with a woman of that size and power, there's so much you could do with her in terms of a finishing move. So, yeah, I agree with that.
I'm struggling to remember what. You could essentially bill her, if you're not going to get Kong back in the WWE, you could make her, the new Kong.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they're trying to do, but I'm trying to remember what her finish was. She was only in WWE for such short a time.
Yeah. I do know what you mean, though. I mean, and she's, in terms of power and everything, Kong is obviously a better wrestler, but she has many, many, many more years on her. And people are going to ask me, who would I hire, Awesome Kong or Nia Jax? Guess what? I was going to say Nia Jax. The reason being is because Nia Jax doesn't have a history of...
Backstage bullshit,
yeah, which is... unfortunately follows Kong around, right? That and the fact that she doesn't have the constant years of damage on her body and stuff like this. There's more time with Nia that you can mold her into something good and get plenty of time out of her. But and she's obviously quite professional. One of the things that the Breaking Ground thing showed that she's almost like a mum to everyone backstage. She's like the mama bear, right, in that group. So there's a lot of stuff there that she can offer. So. Alright, so, yeah, if she has improved, I haven't seen it. We haven't been allowed to see it. We haven't seen much of her since the last Takeover show, funny enough.
Yeah, because, they were like, oh, we're going to have a battle royale for the number 1 contendership. Oh, sorry, Nia. You're not allowed in it.
Yeah, that's it. What's your grade then, Matt? I don't remember what we gave her before.
Nor do I.
But it's not much removed from that, to be honest.
It's hard to say considering I don't know what I gave her last time, but to be perfectly honest, I'd probably give her a C.
Yeah, I was thinking a C, maybe C plus if you add in the fact that she had a good match at the last Takeover, but how much of that was her or Bayley making that match better? As we said,
yeah.
Bayley's got that Bret Hart factor, but I'll go with C. I think a solid C. She's a C with a potential to be an A down the line. Honestly, she just needs time and to be booked a certain way. I think there's so much more potential with Nia Jax. People are just overlooking it. Honestly, I do think there's a lot of potential there. Let's talk about Eva Marie, though, Matt. Eva Marie, she's been NXT for a while now. You could say she's an established character, at very least, on that show now.
Yep.
She hasn't been having many matches either, really, but she wrestled this week. In terms of in-ring acumen, do you think that she has improved?
I don't know. Do you know, I just realised, remember one thing I remember after watching this week's match I didn't like about Nia, but it wasn't her.
Okay. Oh, go on.
You know that bit where she had Carmella up against the ropes and she's like shouldering Carmella between the top and the middle?
Yeah, I get you. Doing the back elbows, yeah.
Well, shouldn't... No,
Oh,
not the
no.
back elbows. When she was like proper... You know, like when you shoulder... Like...
Oh, yeah.
In the turnbuckle.
Yeah,
she
yeah,
was
yeah.
doing it on the rope.
Yeah.
Like, surely a girl like Carmella would literally just go pop and straight through the ropes.
Yeah. Bit weird.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if Eva's improved. I don't think Eva's improved. Maybe I'm biased. I still don't enjoy seeing her work.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's still scared.
Yeah, that part of her is still there. The one thing, Matt, that I'm going to give Eva Marie props for. Remember when she first came in, very first, and...
What, like her and JoJo very first?
Yeah, when she started doing
first
matches on Raw and stuff like this. And I said
Yes.
back then that she doesn't seem to understand what wrestling is. She doesn't seem to understand that she's a character, how to portray that character, how to get responses, just the very basics of wrestling that someone would normally have from being a fan for many, many years and understand. She just didn't seem to have it. She seemed like she was missing a lot, right?
Yeah.
Just psychology. She was so far behind everyone else. The one thing I'll give her props for, Matt, is that I think she understands her role now more than she ever has done before.
Okay.
So when she's coming out, she's no longer trying to wow the crowd. She understands that the crowd just don't like her. She's a heel. Fucking act like one, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You just, don't care what they say. Just let them boo. And just almost like a little bit when she comes out with the cockiness of, look at my body, I'm fantastic, you should be lucky. It works to her advantage. Yeah, of course, in the ring, I'm not seeing a huge amount of improvement. Maybe a tiny little bit, maybe. But she's just going to naturally get better with the more bumps that she takes and the less that she's worried about taking these hits. Because once you take them hundreds of times, it doesn't matter anymore. You just do it, right? It's like clockwork. So, yeah, I'll give her props for that. I think that she understands her role, what she needs to be in a match, what her objective is, how to try and elicit a similar sort of objective. You see her mouthing off to the crowd a lot more, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
You should be doing that. And, yeah, I will give her some props on that. And I'll tell you what, if you're going to ask me who would I take over Cameron and Eva Marie, I would take Eva Marie. I think Eva Marie is starting to cotton on a lot quicker than Cameron. I don't think Cameron still understands quite what she's doing. Like, she's done all the bullet points that WWE have told her to do, but she doesn't really get it, right?
Well, at least Eva hasn't tried to pin someone on their front.
Yeah, even though she had, like, fucked up a count or anything. Even though that could have been kayfabe for all we know, but still. Yeah. That being said, though, guys, she's still not very good at all in the ring. I'm buffing it up there. People might be saying, oh, wow, you've turned... No, she's not very good. She's awful. Still quite bad. But it's still good to be seeing some level of improvement, at very least one aspect of the overall package that she has. I think her psychology is starting to make sense to her, Matt. I think it's starting to, when she's looking at the situation she's in and the character that she has, some small bits here and there are starting to click into place a little bit for her. Like, you can tell that she understands it a bit more. And fair play, right? I'm not in the business of always ragging on someone for no reason. If there's improvement there, I'll highlight it. But that being said, she's still
not very good.
Still not very good. What rating would you give her, Matt?
A D?
I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go D+.
It's not much higher, but okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I think that what's better about her now. Like I said, she's still bad, but she's at a point now where she can go with other women that are better than her, and at very least, she won't embarrass herself with them. Right? They'll obviously lead the match. They'll do the spots. They're obviously going to be much more technically sound. But she won't go in there and make a fool of herself. She'll at very least be able to participate in that match. Which, guys, there was a point where she couldn't even do that. Right? So, there you are. There's a plus on that anyway. So, there's our report card. And I'm sure that we'll get talking much more about that as Dallas goes on. Oh, Matt, I didn't even do the announcement that what we're going to be doing for WrestleMania. I should probably do that now if we get into our Raw review. Let's do that now, before we get into that. So, WrestleMania this year, people might be wondering, what are we doing for it? Because we've got a Dallas review that's going up that week. LTW debates, hopefully, if I can get it all sorted out, would either be that week or the week after. We've got the Lucha review. We've got the normal episodes. So we've got a lot of stuff that we're doing that week. But here's the cool thing. 5 minutes after WrestleMania is finished, we will be live streaming our review on the channel. So at 5 minutes past 4 in the morning for UK fans, don't know what that is in America, but still, me and Matt will be awake, and we'll be.
11?
I don't know. It depends on where you are in America, doesn't it? Really.
True.
We will be awake, and we will be reviewing the show. Maybe about an hour. I think at tops hour 15, maybe. We might go on longer, depending if we get lots of questions and what happens on the show. Yeah. But we're going to stay up. We're going to review the show, like literally 5 minutes after it happens. We're going to have a good chat, and we'd like you guys to join us there. If you hopefully it's not too late for you guys. If you don't want to, if you need to go to sleep and get work the next morning, which is fine, then you can just catch it the next morning. It'll be fine. It'll be up there, so that's okay. So that's just something that we decided that we thought we might want to do. Other thoughts that we were thinking of, that I was thinking of doing, which we might not do. Well, we're definitely not doing it this year, but we might do next year. Is that we might do a thing where we air myself and Matt being on Skype watching the show, so you can have us watching the show with you, making our comments as the show goes on. But we're not doing that this year. That would require it's like 4 hours of streaming and along those lines. I don't know, but we're definitely doing the review 5 minutes after it airs.
Yeah.
So at 5 minutes past 4 a.m. or 5 minutes after WrestleMania, we will be live streaming, and we'd love for all you guys to be there. So it'll be good stuff. Matt, we've got a Raw review to get through.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be covering every single segment because I feel my voice is just beginning to reach its limit before I start crackling up and usual and stuff like that. So we'll go through the much more interesting parts of this week's Raw. So Raw's from Detroit, Matt. Whenever I just say Detroit, all I can think of is Eminem going, Detroit what? Detroit what? But that's just me and 8 Mile or whatever, but still. What a movie that is. I need to go back and watch that. Still. 1 night removed from Fastlane. And before the show started, Matt, did you see obviously you saw it because WWE showed it 500 million times on Raw, but the fan footage of, I say fan footage, I do that in quotations because it wasn't fan footage. They had someone planted there to fucking record it. Of Brock Lesnar attacking Dean Ambrose before the show even began.
Of course, yeah.
He running power slammed him onto the windscreen of a car. It looked brutal, to be honest. So, to the point that Ambrose was carted off to a hospital even before the opening credits. So, there is that. The show does start, however, with the Vincent J. McMahon Award. Was it the Legacy of Excellence, I think they were calling it. Vinnie Mac himself comes down. He says that tonight is a night we'll never forget. He's quite the mystic, isn't he? Because, I think that's quite the case. He explains that what the award is about and announced the recipient is none other than Stephanie McMahon. And
Cue the booze.
Cue the booze. Now, before we talk about what happened, I will say again, going back to that Jim Johnston thing, I was a little bit ashamed that this wasn't used as a... They need to make an award, Matt, or a wing of the Hall of Fame I don't want to go too much in it there, but these unsung guys that have worked with the company for years.
Oh, yeah.
They need to get it done. So, here's the thing, right? So, obviously, when she comes out, we know all this. The jig is up. It's a work. It's a storyline, right? The award. And I was quite shocked, Matt, that Vince would allow an award named after his father
to be used as a bit.
Yeah. I was
thinking that.
Yeah. The one thing why I thought this might be legit is because they slapped his name on it. And maybe that's part of the reason they got us, and fair play. But I'm quite shocked that Vince allowed that to happen. Considering how I've heard he holds his father in such a high regard. Obviously, for numerous reasons, right? But still, interesting. As you say there, Matt, Stephanie's got nuclear heat, right?
Yeah.
Which you'd expect. She's talked down quite a few people. You would expect her to have that much heat. She gets ready for her speech, just about to open up her, her pad or whatever to try and get all the notes down. She's managed to calm herself down, get ready for the moment. She's beaming. She's so excited. Just as she opens her mouth,
here comes the money, 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 money.
But do you find that wasn't even planned? But you did that so perfectly. That was brilliant. Yeah, that's right, Shane O'Mac. A guy who hasn't been in WWE for 6-7 years. He's been off in China, creating his own company and making millions over there.
Yeah.
I think he's got roughly $40 million to his name, which were made through that company. Fair play to the guy, right? But he's back. And he comes down, he does his dance, Matt. He's got his Air Jordans, right? He's loving it. And, Matt, I knew he was going to get a pop. I knew he was going to get some sort of reception when he came out. Even though this was a complete shock, by the way. Yeah. No one ever expected that Shane was going to be the one to come out here. I tell you what, I did not think he would get a response to what level he did.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, this was an Attitude Era pop, guys. Like, people up on their feet.
From like a Shane O'Mac, a this is awesome, a holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, God, he got everything.
He couldn't start his segment here, Matt, because people were still chanting for him. He was soaking it all in. It was about 5 minutes of it. I thought, and it was fun. It really was fun just to see him there. Maybe I'm wrong, Matt, but I never thought that he was thought of as fondly as that. He was treated like a returning Daniel Bryan who said,
returning God.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm not actually that injured. I can come back. That's like the response he got here. That everyone was up on their feet. People were hugging each other in the crowd. It was like, wow, the prodigal son has indeed returned. Awesome moment. I was glued to the screens. All wrestling fans legitimately surprised. It's one of those moments, Matt, I feel like we haven't had in a while, where you're sitting back and you're like, wow, this is a lot of fun right here. This is like, I'm going to remember this moment for a while. This is a legitimate moment, right? Awesome stuff. Vince goes in for a hug, and Shane puts out the hand. No, I don't quite want that. So Vince is like, oh, okay.
Shake hand? No.
Yep.
No hand.
Just slowly puts his hands down. And like I said, though, Matt, one of the parts of this promo that Shane is talking about is that he's not beholden to Vince anymore. He's not employed by WWE. He has his own company. He makes his own money. He makes his own millions, right? He's doing just fine. Doesn't need to do anything Vince says. Doesn't have to step into line. Doesn't have to play his games. He's Shane O'Mac, right? Just the way it is. Shane, by the way, hasn't missed a beat. Whenever he's coming across in this promo, it's like he never left, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's just as good on the mic as and he was one of the good guys on the mic back in the day. Shane is pissed that Stephanie's got the award. That's his main reason for being out there. And before he goes any further, he's like, or Stephanie's like, well, I've been around here running the company. What have you been doing?
It's like, she doesn't know, does she? He's like, oh?
Yeah, that minute, yeah. The whole crowd response, Matt, was superb. Everyone's like, oh, shit, son. They were like, oh, something's about to go down. It was awesome. And he fires back, though, saying, well, yeah, you have been running WWE. You've been running it into the ground. Network subscriptions, the plethora of injury talents, the ratings. You're not doing too well, right?
That's it.
I was quite surprised that he even came out with that in this segment, right? All things considered. So then she leaves the promo because Vince is like, I don't really want to talk about this at the moment, so can you leave? And Shane's like, well, actually, you know, I saved Vince's ass a while back, and they cut a deal, so he managed to go away, make said businesses, and take time away. But he never lost his line. He never lost his place in the line. He's still the heir to the throne, shall we say? Now, the interesting bit, as if that wasn't already interesting, that was extremely interesting, and the back and forth between him and Steph was clearly quite interesting. She leaves after Shane says it's just best for business, which I thought was quite a nice line. And Vince is like, okay, you know what, I'll cut a check for you. What do you want me to do? And Shane's like, it was never about money. I don't need your money. It's not a factor anymore. Yeah. He says he wants
money.
Yeah, he says he wants to, instead of the business being cut up into pieces and given away on a stock market, he wants it to become back what it used to be. He wants to leave it there for the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th generation of McMahons. And the way he's going to do that is by taking control of Monday Night Raw. And obviously everyone's like, yes, that means no more authority. Absolutely. Without question. Yes, 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 yes. That's exactly what we want. And Vince is like, okay, sure, you can have that if you can beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania in a Hell in a Cell match. And Shane accepts. So there you go. There's one of your main events from WrestleMania. Shane versus The Undertaker. Awesome segment, Matt. This went for 25 minutes.
I can't believe it went on for that long.
Yeah. And that's kind of the point, though, isn't it? That you didn't realise that it went on for that long because you were like...
This is good.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is
really it's like the Superdome, isn't it?
Yeah, what is that, Hogan...
the Hogan, Rock and Austin, where it's just like, this is huge.
Yeah, this is an awesome moment, yeah. Now, there's a few things to talk out of this here. First of all, you got to praise WWE for pulling this one out of their ass. It was an awesome moment, and it will be remembered for a long time. Secondly, there is some people saying, and they've obviously got reason to think so, that Shane won't be wrestling this match. I'm here to tell you, I firmly believe he is.
Very much is.
He very much is will be wrestling this match. And the reason I say this, I don't think they would have advertised or teased Shane being in the ring with Taker if they weren't going to let it happen. I think if he comes out and says, I'm picking this guy to wrestle in my stead, I think honestly it's going to be a little bit like, but we would rather see you do it because it's much more interesting that way, right? I don't know. It depends on who they pick. So maybe they pick a internet darling and someone along those lines. But I still think it's Shane. They're still airing videos of him training for the match. I know he's not exactly young anymore, but people forget Shane wrestled a lot of matches in his time.
Shane is known to have pulled off one of the most ridiculous spots.
Yeah. Oh, Matt, he put his body on the line all the time back then. Right?
Yeah.
The Kurt Angle fucking suplexes through the King of the Ring, like window things that he gets up, where he basically almost broke his fucking neck on about 3 different situations at the same time. He is certainly not afraid of putting his body on the line, right? He's not afraid of getting in there with Undertaker, who he knows is a fairly safe wrestler, and taking bumps, especially in Hell in a Cell. Like, yeah, like it's not going to be bloody. And people might go, well, Hell in a Cell, like, in terms of body, he's going to take a lot more damage. Yeah, he can get thrown up against the cell. He can have his face done. I'm going to newsflash here. Maybe you don't want to listen to this. Getting thrown up against that doesn't exactly hurt that much, right? Not as much as actually taking a full-on bump into, like tacks or anything like that, which isn't going to be happening on this. Yeah. So, yeah, I do think he is wrestling this match. I do think he will perform against The Undertaker.
Well, they've announced that he's in training already.
Yeah, right. Now, one thing that people have been saying for is that Undertaker's due to appear, I think next week even. And he might come out and say, I've got no interest in wrestling Shane. It won't do anything for my legacy. that's one way for them to get out of it. I don't think they're going to do it.
Well, there was like a whole sort of like, I've never really worked for you, like as sort of like to Vince.
Yeah. Yeah, they might. There's certain ways they can definitely get out of it, but why do that when they've already teased it? And it's something obviously people have got a vested interest in, right? People want to see Shane wrestle Taker. Maybe they want to see. They would have to name someone very special, and I'm talking like legendary status. I'm saying you might have to name someone that, and I don't even think he'll get involved in WrestleMania, like Sting, to wrestle Undertaker.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is happening, because I still think he's got fucking neck issues. Like, I still think he's really struggling with his neck after that match with Rollins. So he's going to have to pick someone equally as exciting as Shane to fill that void if that is going to happen. There ain't too many people like that out there at the moment. If they are, they're injured. So, yeah, I'm firmly going to say, guys, I honestly do think Shane is wrestling this match. I do think he's got... The plan is for him to wrestle. He's probably going to take a beating. Maybe maybe someone will come in and try and fight Taker. Maybe they're going to do a storyline along those lines. I do think Shane will get control of Raw. I do think that's where they're going for.
Yeah. Do you know one thing I heard a terrible prediction, which was like, what if Sting costs Taker the match? And I'm like,
or setting up maybe next year's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
Please.
I mean, it'd be something exciting, I guess, and it would give a reason for Taker to lose, and what a reason for Taker to go after Sting after he's lost his second WrestleMania match to Shane O'Mac, not less, who is not a competitor. So I don't know. There's certain ways they can do it, but I do think Shane is wrestling anyway. But we'll see. So awesome segment, awesome opening segment. In fact, I thought that the entirety of the first hour of this show was pretty damn good. And
yeah.
They followed that up with Neville and the Lucha Dragons against the New Day. And I've certainly got no problem with the New Day being out there. I love the New Day. Everyone knows I love the New Day.
Yeah.
I thought this was a decent match. I thought it got very good at the end. I don't know how he manages to do a 450 apron splash. Neville is a fucking anomaly, right?
I was just shocked and quite happy that Neville had some TV time.
Yeah. But Matt, when he pulls off shit like this, I'm like your body shouldn't be able to do that. Like, that is bonkers what you're when they say you're the man that gravity forgot, like, I know it's a fix, I know it's a gimmick, but fucking hell, that's as close as you're going to get to really describing about the shit he can do. It's mind-boggling, the things he... And, like, when you hear the Young Bucks saying, oh, he used to do even crazier stuff on the indies.
Oh, that's like a quarter of what he can do.
Yeah. And I'm like, but how is that physically possible? Like, this is sort of like, I don't think he can up himself. And they're saying, no, he used to do it all the time. And I'm like, okay. Like,
it's the one thing I'm quite looking forward to next week on NXT, because I remember watching an old, like, Devitt versus Pac.
Yeah. Pac being Neville, for people that don't know, yeah.
And we're going to get that on NXT next week.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That's going to be a very good match. That's going to be very enjoyable. Kofi messes with Sin Cara's mask and then kicks him in the head for the win. Some of the most fun in a single hour of WWE that we've had in years.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Roman Reigns is backstage. He's being interviewed by JoJo. Reigns doesn't know how Ambrose is doing. By the way, he's being booed all the way through this. And he's going to take down Triple H. Matt, we said this a little bit on the pay-per-view review. Looking into the lineup of the places that they're going before WrestleMania. Now, he's going to get booed at WrestleMania. It's going to happen, right?
Yep.
I know it is. They're going to Philadelphia. Now, last time he was in Philly, he was actually cheered. So maybe he might get off with that place. Who knows? Don't know. I think they're going... I'm not sure. They're definitely going to Chicago. He will get booed in Chicago.
Yep.
I think they're going to someplace else, which is normally known as a very hardcore place. I think it's maybe like Brooklyn or something like that. If it is, he's getting booed there as well. He is going to have... Like, WWE are going to have such a hard time trying to get people on his side. To a point that I'm almost like, you should not really have him on that show. Maybe make Triple H beat him up so badly he doesn't appear on those shows. Like, I'm honestly thinking maybe that's what they should do, right? But I don't know, Matt. Like, when you look at that lineup, And I'm like, they want this moment. WWE want this picture moment of Roman Reigns defeating Triple H, holding that championship up in the air, the fireworks going off, WrestleMania ending, and all the crowd cheering their hero. Except they're all going to be booing him.
Yeah.
That is awkward right there. That's a problem for them. I don't think they currently realise how much of a problem it may end up being. I think they thought that they turned a corner, but they underestimated.
Struggling.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they're just like, but Reigns, have Reigns. You like Reigns. Like, no, well, not this much.
Yeah.
Like, I like chocolate milkshake, but after I've had about 4 bottles of it, I feel a bit sick.
That's pretty much it, right? And when someone's trying to grab it and force it down your throat as you're drinking it, even more so. You almost like you want to slap the guy for doing it.
That's it.
So let's lead us to the Brock Lesnar segment. Oh, yes. He's out fresh from sending Ambrose to the hospital, and they're basically getting over how pissed off they are with said Dean Ambrose and explaining why they attacked him. Obviously, they're pissed that he's the one who hit Lesnar with a chair and cost him that chance at being in the WrestleMania main event, Matt. So,
because Lesnar is the main event.
That's it. One of the things they say here, actually, is that whatever match Lesnar's involved in will be the main event. Not even Reigns and Triple H could overdo that. And I'm like, he's actually onto something there, because that kind of is the point. Like, it's going to get massively overshadowed.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things here is that, like, Heyman is getting very pissed off. He's getting very angry. He says, if you can imagine how much of a destructive mood I am in, imagine what mood Brock Lesnar is in. I thought that was a good line. I like that one.
The thing is, I don't know whether it's the fact that he got angry or whether he got cut off, because I know he threw the microphone. I was like, did he just break that mic?
I think he did, actually, to be honest. But one thing that I really liked about Heyman's promo here, and he's always good, we always know that, he really got over how much Brock Lesnar doesn't just want to hurt Dean Ambrose, he wants to kill him, right? He wants to murder him, like, as in to the point that Dean Ambrose won't be alive anymore, sort of thing. Like, he's really getting over that Brock just wants to tear him apart piece by piece, and
that's it.
That's the way it's going to be. Just as they're set to leave, an ambulance shows up driving haphazardly through the arena, crashing into shit and all that sort of stuff. Dean Ambrose does like stealing ambulances.
That's true, because it's not been his first, has it?
No. He does enjoy a little bit of Grand Theft Auto when it comes to ambulances and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just a fan of the ambulance side missions in that game, but so, who knows? When he comes out, he's in a neck brace, he's flopping all over the place just to try and get into the ring, and he finally kind of collapses in a heap outside. Brock stands on his head and walks out, but Ambrose calls him back, and he says, well, you can kiss my ass, first of all. I'm indestructible, and I want you at WrestleMania in a no-holds-barred street fight. And I'm like, was someone listening to us? Like, we kind of said that's what we wanted right there, which was a hardcore match with Ambrose and Lesnar. Well, that's exactly what
I will take that.
Yeah. Lesnar's like, well, if you want to get fucking destroyed, I'll do it for you. I'll give you an F5, and I'll have my manager scream in your ear that I accept your challenge.
No, it's the best bit was when he just stood on Ambrose's head.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, just walked over him. Yeah. Yeah, and you know what, Matt? When I look at this situation at WrestleMania, the moment is going to be brilliant. I'm going to tell you what happens now, but I guarantee you it's going to happen, but it doesn't make it any less epic. Lesnar's going to fucking annihilate Ambrose.
Yeah.
He's going to toy with him. He's going to throw him everywhere. He's going to powerbomb him. He's going to suplex him. He's going to F5 him. But at, I'm going to say about 15 minutes into the match, Lesnar decides, you know what, I've had enough just dealing with this fucker. I'm just going to pin him. I'm done. I've destroyed him. There's nothing left of him. But no matter what he does, Ambrose won't die. He keeps kicking out over and over and over again, and he gets to a point that Brock gets so angry that, you know, you could say he does like this really big move or whatever, like a very big pop move, and it still doesn't put Ambrose away. So you've got this really cool visual of Ambrose just sprawled out, refusing to quit, despite the clear annihilation he's been taking, and you've got Brock looking down at his hands going, I don't know how to beat him. I've done everything to him. I've annihilated him. Why won't you fucking die? You can even have him scream that to him. Just fucking stay down. What is wrong with you?
How hard is it for you to die?
Yeah, right? The moment speaks for itself, and whether or not Ambrose wins or Lesnar wins after that, it's going to make Ambrose look like the toughest son of a bitch, that he can just take this beating that anyone would tap out of, even if they weren't in a submission, and he's just like, no, let's do it again. Sure.
Yeah.
Do it again.
So, like, this is fun.
Yeah, right? So the moment speaks for itself. I think we are going to get that moment, but it's going to be awesome. And I think the crowd are going to pop huge for it. I think the visual of Brock, like, he's always confident, Matt. He always knows what he's about to do. But when he looks at Ambrose, and you can see in his face, what do I do? And he's almost like he's trying to look. He can't come up with the answer. He just can't. You know what I mean? That moment is going to be really, really fun. Ascension versus the Usos. This, by the way, was the ending of that first, like, over like an hour, maybe hour 15, which was just awesome. Just really good stuff. It kind of tapered off a little bit after that. When you see Ascension come out for a match, you kind of see where that's going. The Dudleys come out.
What do you mean the Ascension came out for the match? They were already there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But Bubba and Devon give a good promo, but the problem is, it's exactly word for word the promo they gave last week.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. Sure, that promo was great. I said it was great last week, but could you not come up with something different for us? But, okay, maybe not. Devon, well, one thing that Devon does say actually directly to the Usos, which was different, was that Rikishi should have taught his sons more about respect rather than buying thongs. So I'm like, the Dudleys as a heel, they completely work. They absolutely
work.
The match lasts just as long as WWE have spoken about creative for the Ascension, so about 2 minutes. Actually, no, that doesn't really work. I don't think they've ever spoken about creative for Ascension, so maybe that similarity didn't work there. Yeah, I don't think they've ever spoken about the Ascension. Do you think that Vince McMahon's ever spoken about the Ascension?
No. I don't think he even knows who they are.
Yeah, I think he thinks whenever they show up, he thinks they're local guys, right? They booked. Yeah. They're like, oh, look at this local talent, cool, good for them. And they keep showing up.
These guys?
Yeah, and they keep showing up and they say, oh, hi, Vince, and he's like, oh, yeah, hey, hi. Local guys again, awesome. And he just keeps thinking they're local guys. He just keeps forgetting that they're actually employees of the company. In which case the Usos win that match. Of course they did. It's the Ascension. You know where that's going. Jericho comes to the ring. He calls out AJ Styles because he wants to put his tongue on Styles' butthole.
Yeah.
He congratulates him. The social outcast shop. They mock them both. Bo is just happy to see them being friends. I'm just so happy for Bo. I'm just really happy. He just makes me smile. So basically Styles and Jericho are now a team. They've teamed up. They're a tag team now. Whether or not people are happy with that, I don't have too much of a problem with it. But it looks like the plan is that they're going to be going for the tag championships, which seems a bit random. Go on, Matt. Voice your concern.
I don't want it. We don't need it.
You don't need Styles there, no?
We don't need Styles in the tag division.
I know.
But I guess I don't want him... I guess it's something to do before he goes to the real title, because I don't want him dicking around with the United States either.
The way that I look at it, Matt, is that, let's be realistic. He wasn't going to get a big marquee match at WrestleMania. He's just too new, right? And Vince clearly doesn't trust him enough yet as that. So at very least, he's with someone that he knows how to work with. He's had a decent match. He's going to be on the Mania card. I'm okay with it for now. I won't be okay with it 3 months down the line, and he's still doing it. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. That's just my opinion anyway. But
yeah,
still. Jericho apparently has booking power because he sets them up in a match. There's not really much to say about the match. Styles and Jericho get the victory. There really isn't anything else to speak about. I was
going to say, what more would you expect?
Yeah, it's not really that noteworthy, guys. It was an okay match, but still. So this leads into... there's a few segments here with Triple H speaking to Steph. Don't really want to talk about that. Stephanie speaks to Reigns, says that you're going to face Sheamus tonight. She wonders if Reigns will get injured tonight. And you know what? I actually do want to bring this up. The way that Reigns looked here, and I've brought this up plenty of times before, how I've said Reigns comes across as a guy who's playing by someone else's rules, not his own, right? So that's why he's never going to be viewed at in the same as, like, Steve Austin, who played by his own rules and no one else's. Because Roman Reigns, after being told this, he's just looking like he's been a slapped boy who's been told off by his mum. He's standing there just like, yeah, sure, all right, I'm okay. I'm like, you're fucking, like, you're supposed to be Roman Reigns, the Samoan ass kicker.
Badass, yeah.
Yeah. Like, why would you just stand there? You would just be like, well, fine, do whatever you like. I'll kick his ass, I'll kill him. But he's like, oh, all right, Steph, all right. And I'm like, come on. Can you don't realise?
The thing I found quite like, that I found good, that I quite liked about this whole thing was just sort of the way Stephanie was like, I'll go tell him, because I want to just fuck around. I want to just, like, make Reigns' life misery.
Yeah. Which is...
He's my little whipping bitch.
Yeah, it just comes across like this guy, like, he just doesn't have any attitude, Matt. He's just completely, like... Yeah. That's why some people don't like him, because he's been booked like a guy who is more than happy to be a little bitch. Let's just be honest. And take all the abuse and not do that much about it. The one thing, when he started turning the corner, Matt, what did he do? He punched the fuck out of Triple H.
Yeah.
He kicked the shit out of him. And he started not playing by the authorities' rules. And then suddenly he went exactly back to doing...
And that's what caused him to lose the title.
Yeah. Right.
And now he's like, let's go play it safe, I suppose.
Yeah. Imagine, Matt, if a GM had told Stone Cold Steve Austin back that in his heyday, he probably would have got stunned, right? It doesn't matter who he was. You don't speak like that to Austin. Austin will beat the shit out of you for doing that.
Yeah.
So, still. Goldust is speaking to R-Truth backstage. He gives him a cake, saying sorry. But Truth comes off like a bit of a cock here. He's just blaming everything on Goldust. He's like, yeah, because of you, I lost that match last week. And I'm like, was I not the only person who thought you were... Oh, sorry, out to Fastlane. And I'm like, am I the only person that thought he was going to lose that match anyway? So Goldust at least tried? Still. Maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know. But Goldie just looks so sad here. This storyline is completely depressing. It just really is. It's just depressing.
Just talent going to waste.
Yeah, it is. Wyatt family versus Ryberg, Big Shane, yeah, exactly. So what Shane McMahon happens if he was 7 foot? No. Don't know where I'm going with that. Ryberg, Big Show, and Kane rematch from last night, except for the fact that Bray Wyatt is in the match and Braun Strowman isn't. But Byron Saxton is being adorned with both sheep's masks. I would like it if he kept those masks on when they do plugs for the network, so I don't have to see his forced over-the-top facial expressions.
Yeah.
But I'm obviously not going to get my wish. I get the feeling, Matt, that they're building this as like a big match that's going to happen at WrestleMania. If so, it's going to be a dud. Absolutely. I don't see any other way this can't be a dud. If it's going to be a six-man tag match at WrestleMania, it's going to suck.
I don't know how it can be, considering one of them walked out.
Oh, well, maybe along those lines. I don't know then what they're going to do with him. It seems like it's nothing. But, yeah, as you say, Ryberg walks out. His reason for doing so was that he wanted the spotlight to himself.
Yeah.
So...
he needs to look out for the big guy.
That's right. So he's... I don't know whether or not he's turning... Well, he obviously clearly would be turning heel, but... I don't know. We actually got a question last week saying whether or not he... Or maybe it was the last couple of weeks saying whether or not it would be worth turning him heel. And our answer to it there was, it doesn't really matter. Like, he's only going to be at that level for the rest of his career. It doesn't change much, but still. Yeah, the Wyatt family win that match. I don't know what they're going to be doing then, but still, it's... The Wyatt family have clearly had the rug taken under them. Obviously, the plan was for them to go against Lesnar. That's not happening now, and it is a more interesting match, him against Ambrose, so they should have booked that, and I've got no problem, but it does leave the Wyatts in a very awkward situation. Let's just say that. So, Sasha Banks versus Naomi. We're getting to the end of the show now. I thought this was I thought it was an okay match. I thought it was all right. It's quick. It was too quick, really, to see the best of either woman. That's probably the best way to say about
Probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah. Sasha did, however, take a sick apron hit or bump in this match. It's not really a bump. It was more like a hit. Where it looked like her head was taken clean off. She really took that. Like, it was where Tamina has taken her foot off and she lands. It was like, oh, it looks awful. Becky Lynch comes out to take out Tamina at ringside, which gives Sasha the chance to win with the bank statement, of which she does. Charlotte comes out afterwards with tears as genuine as Chris Jericho's stripping ambitions. Yeah, he seems to, with his matches since AJ Styles, you haven't seen him, do that for a little while. So there was that. Oh no, sorry, he was dancing on SmackDown quite a little bit like a stripper. So there is that.
Awfully close.
Awfully close. That's right. He's been training, shall we say? She says that Lynch and Banks will have to face each other next week to decide who will face her at WrestleMania. And kind of plays off their distrust a little bit. Matt, 1+ here is that Charlotte's doing all the talking. Rick is doing none of it. That's good for me. I'm happy with that. And she's been doing a lot of the talking recently with that last promo that she had with Brie leading up to her match. There was not a word spoken about Ric Flair. Or if there was, it was very pleasing. He was just
there.
Yeah. That's exactly how it should be for a little while, I think. So, awesome. Good stuff.
I think, if anything, it's good. It goes well to the fact that they can actually prove that, Charlotte has her own voice.
Yeah. I tell you what as well, Matt, if they're having a match to decide the number one contender for WrestleMania, and they don't have any other match on next week's Raw that is of equal importance as in deciding who's going to be at WrestleMania, that should be the main event.
Yeah.
It really should. It's an opportunity there, and I hope that they have that on the books for them, because why not have it as the main event? If you can have the Wyatt family last week against, sorry, they weren't even against anyone, just in a fight with the Big Show. It was Braun Strowman and Big Show in the main event of Raw, then you can definitely have these two women in the main event of Raw for a much more important reason, so that definitely can happen. Vince says to Steph backstage that he thinks that Shane's going to lose, and it's a calculated risk. They both seem quite happy with it, so there you go. So Roman Reigns against Sheamus. This match is what you would exactly expect a Reigns versus Sheamus match to be. So when Triple H comes out to interrupt in said match, I was quite happy for the interruption.
I was happy when it happened.
Exactly. I tell you what, Trips looks in good shape. He looks in better shape now than he was at Royal Rumble. I will say that. And he wasn't in bad shape at the Royal Rumble either. I'm just saying he looks in better shape there. He puts a hurting on the challenger. And when I say hurting, he fucking explodes Reigns' nose, so there's blood everywhere. There's blood across Triple H's hands. There's blood all over Reigns' face. And then he lands a pedigree on the steel steps and is cheered like a hero for doing so.
Yeah.
So, here's the thing, Matt. First of all, I thought that the colour helped the savagery of the beating.
Agreed.
I'm sure Vince wasn't happy. He sent out an army of referees with rubber gloves, so I'm sure, that was part of it. But it did help. It helped that, it's going to look a lot when you've had pictures of Roman Reigns all mashed up, his face destroyed, having had to go into surgery to amend it. It really makes it come across that Triple H fucking destroyed the guy, like he really hurt him, which is exactly what they're going for. And that visual, Matt, of Triple H's bandages over his fucking hands, like red with blood, right? Yeah. That looks fucking devastating right there, so it's good. I like the beatdown. I thought it was very good. And it was a much more entertaining end to the show than just Roman Reigns beating Sheamus and going, well, he's well on the fast track for WrestleMania. Because that would have been quite boring. Is there anything else about the show before we want to talk about it in general and give our review?
No. I don't think I've got anything else.
Well, let's give our review then. I thought this show, I give it a thumbs up. I thought it was... Listen... Like, in the middle of the show, there was a lull. In 3 hours, it's very rare that you're not going to have some point of a lull. That first,
3 hours.
Yeah. The first, 70, 80 minutes of the show, I thought were fantastic. I thought they were brilliant.
Even if you did spend pretty much all of it just looking at Shane.
Yeah, the majority of it was Shane.
Which is fine.
But the main event at the end was interesting. The matches in between, like I said, maybe not so much. But because of I think some of the pieces here are so good and so interesting that it's clearly this is worth a watch. And I've already gone back and watched the Shane segment like twice because it was.
Yeah, I've already watched it a couple of times.
Yeah. So there's stuff on here that I thought was pretty good. I'm going to give this Raw a thumbs up. And yeah, we honestly, I do believe if you're going to ask me which 3-hour show should you watch, Fastlane or this one, I'm probably going to say
Fastlane or Raw.
Yeah, I'm probably going to say Raw.
Yeah.
Fastlane for more wrestling, sure, but in terms of general interest and entertainment value, then yeah, it's Raw hands down, without question. So, in fact, some people went as far as to say that the first half an hour of this show completely trumped the 3 hours of Fastlane before it. I'm not going to argue with that fact. I'm also not going to say it, but I'm not going to argue with it.
Yeah.
They've certainly got a very good means for an argument for that case. But still. Is that your general thoughts of the show, or?
Yeah, I can agree with that. There was some, there's highs and lows, but with a show so long, it's bound to happen.
And the highs were higher than they usually are, so that makes the show better because of that. So yeah. So yeah, thumbs up from us. Go watch Raw if you haven't already. And like I said, if you can watch it, just that opening like 80 minutes and then the last like beat down with Triple H, then like I said, there's at least like an hour and a half of stuff here that I think that you'll really enjoy. And with Raw, how it normally is, people would snap that up. They really would. And the rest of it isn't too offensive. It's not great, but I think that the sum of its parts are pretty good. That's what I'll say there. So that's it, Matt. My voice is about to go.
That's it.
So
it's held out well enough.
It has done quite well. I praise you, voice. You have done fantastic. Let's do our plugs and get the hell out of here. You can like us on Facebook, interact with us there at facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. You can follow our Twitter handle
of @TalkWrestlePod.
You can indeed. You can send us emails. Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast @gmail.com. You can leave any questions on those formats or in the comment section below. And I tell you what, if you're one of the new guys to this show, there's a nice little subscribe button. Just give that a little bit of a click. It's a little teasing little click. For every subscriber button that is clicked on this show, Roman Reigns gets talked down again by Stephanie McMahon.
That's a given.
Which, at the end of the day you might not want, but clearly it has to happen because that's just the way things are, Or how many times people click the subscribe button, that's how many suplexes Lesnar's going to give at WrestleMania. Exactly. So it's good stuff there. Go and click it, become one of our fan base. We do love our fan base here. You can ask us any questions. Any other plugs you want to speak about, Matt, before we wrap this shit up?
No, I've got nothing to add.
It's been a fun week, guys. It's been a lot of recordings that we've done this week. Like I said, my voice has been pretty bad. I did the Lucha review, and my voice was still feeling bad then. I'm glad it's kind of held up for this episode. Next week, there's no problems like that. We'll be back, well, hopefully anyway, unless it happens again or Matt gets it, but still. Apart from that, thanks for the support, guys. I really felt that this week, getting through doing 3 videos a week, which we don't do often at all, really, was a lot easier to do with the amount of support that we get on a weekly basis. It's just good stuff. So awesome.
That's it.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next week. Well, yeah, next week for the Lucha review and the next episode of Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. Apart from that, have a great week. We hope Raw on Monday is just as entertaining, at very least the first segment. I doubt it will be, but hopefully. And apart from that, have a great time. We'll speak to you soon.
Okay. That's it. We'll catch you soon.
Drop a question to us. That's exactly right. Do it.
Yeah.
Humdinger questions. All right, then, guys. Speak to you soon.
Catch you.
Bye-bye.